Hey, what's happening, world? Welcome back to another episode of Iron Man United. We are your hosts, Terrence Williams and
DJ Carpenter.
hey, listen, today, guys, we want to talk to you about valuing fatherhood. How do we value fatherhood is what we're going to be talking about. DJ, go ahead and kick us off with how do you spend time with your kids?
All right, so I have one. He's 15. He's going on 16. Time flies, man. Time flies.
Yeah, time flies.
So spending that time with your kids, you need to. There's a lot in that. Try not to go over some of the things that we're going to break through because we're going to hit the topics. But so you gotta teach them things as you're going along. Especially my boy's getting up there in age and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to turn a wrench, and do things like that. And then you teaching him, little stuff around the house, just stuff he's going to need in his life.
Mm-hmm.
But you also got to, do things he want to do sometimes too. That comes in it. But mainly just make sure you make that time for your kids. Life gets hard. We get busy. You just like you got to with your spouse, you got to make sure you make time for your kids and spending time with them. And you'll do some things with your spouse with them, but sometimes you got to have that one-on-one with them too.
Absolutely.
To make that make that bond, make it a little bit stronger. So it can be many different things. My boy's in the video game, so that's a lot of what we do a lot together.
Yeah.
Talk about, that's his interest, but we just make sure that we're spending time together and getting to know the word together. Always since he was a young age, I try to put him. I've even found the game, man. I remember when I found the game on PlayStation that was a Bible. It's like Bible stories.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I've tried to find some of these new ones.
I never seen that.
And but they ain't got none for these new ones. So they trying to kick it out. But I always try to bring things back to the Lord and everything that we do. Make sure you're thankful. You show them that you're thankful for the things that you do have, the toys and all that stuff that they got. Make sure you bring that to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you let them know God provided that. It wasn't just Daddy. God provided that.
Provision.
Yeah. So talk about a little bit. What's some of the things you do to spend with your kids? I know you got a couple of them. So
yeah. Spending time with my kids is very key. It's very important. As fathers, to be there, to be an influence to my kids. Some things I do once every, I guess, twice a month. Once a month, my wife and I will take our kids out on we'll just take them out. So she'll take one of our boys out and I'll take the other. So we call it father, son, mother, son time. So that's one thing that we do as a couple and as a family. So that way it gives us each individual time with each child, so we rotate. So if I took one child out, she'll take the other child, and then when the next month comes, we alternate. So that's one of the things that I do is I take one of my kids out and spend one-on-one time with them. Sometimes when you have children, you talk to them at the same time, to try to get a point across, and it's always one in front of the other, and them sharing that space and time in the conversations. But it's nothing like having that one-on-one time with them individually, as the father and as the mother as well. So that's what we do, to have that one-on-one time with the kids. Another thing I do with my children is, I like to laugh, joke, cut up, and so we tease each other, quite often. Sometimes we have some dance-offs, in the kitchen or the living room. I spend time playing ping pong with my kids, so that's another thing that we do. So we have some ping pong challenges in the living room as well. We recently bought a ping pong table for them for Christmas, so that's one thing we do. Another thing I do with them is sometimes I just get beside them and watch a movie with them. To have that bonding time and to show interest in whatever they want to see on television. Just another way of relaxing and also engaging with them. That's another thing that I do. When it comes to sports, I try to show interest in whatever they're interested in. So I spend some time with them practicing and working on their skills, things like that. I tutor them after school, spending time with their schoolwork. Not only do they have to do their homework, but I also give them extra work to do, so they can be overachievers, so they can be sharp, in their studies. So those are some ways, in which I spend time with my kids, in which I see are very valuable, for their growth and development.
That's cool. All right, let's go to the next one, okay? About being a godly role model. You want me to start off? You want to start off with it, T?
You proposed the question. I guess I'll go ahead and start.
Go ahead.
All right, so being a godly role model. Being a godly role model for my kids, what it means to me is just trying to represent Christ in my home. Nobody can see Christ physically. He's a spirit being. He lives in us. So I just try to represent him in my home by being loving, by being charismatic with my kids, by being sometimes tender loving with my kids, and meaning that not always trying to handle them roughly and trying to tough them up to be a man, but also letting them know that, hey, men have feelings and emotions, and, so if I'm upset, they'll see them upset, I may shed a tear or two in front of my kids, let them know that it's okay, so Jesus wept. So Dad, he weeps too sometimes. There's some things that, that I go through, may go through with them, and maybe someone passed away in the family, maybe one of them, get sick, get hurt, and I never like to see my kids hurt and sick, so, that thing bothered me too. But I try to just represent Christ as much as I can. I pray with my children before bed, I uphold respect in my house. So that's one thing that I always try to instill in my kids is to show respect towards one another, show respect towards my wife and I, the mother and I. Always be respectful towards each other, and show love towards one another in the home. So I try to show love to my kids by, I may walk past them and rub them on the head, or I may walk up to them and, just hug on them, and just embrace them a little bit. Just to let them know that, hey, Dad loves you. Well, even without saying it, just try to show some kind of compassion to them and some gesture of love around the house. Another way is just praying. I pray with my kids, like I said, before bed, but I also pray in the morning, especially on the weekend. I don't always be there with them in the morning throughout the week, because of work and whatnot, but I pray with my kids on the weekend if we taking a trip in the morning or before we leave the house, at breakfast or what have you. I say prayer, and in the car with them, I say prayer around the house. Normally try to keep some inspirational music playing or some motivational speaking playing. So I try to instill positivity in my kids, and that's also being a godly role model. So I have the Word of God playing, and like I said, I have some motivation playing for my kids. It may be a pastor, it may be Eric Thomas, who's also ministering as well. But those are the things that I try to do to instill some godly principles in my kids. So what about you, DJ? How do you represent being a godly role model to your child?
So that's come a long way, because my kid, when he was younger, I guess he could have seen who I was before. He was, before I became a godly man. So, I know he's seen the difference, Instead of seeing Dad with, a beer can in his hand, he sees Dad with a Bible in his hand,
Amen.
So you got to make sure you set those standards and, you keep them. We go to church and everything, I go to church for, about any occasion I can find to go, really. Yeah. And so sometimes, my spouse don't go with me, my wife don't go with me sometimes, but most of the time, I take the boy with me.
Yeah.
And, and just so we set an example, that, you need to be in church, you need to be with other people of the faith.
Yeah.
And so, I just make sure that, he understands that, that's why we do that. That's why I go. That's why I bring you with me. We the men,
That's right.
as I'm head of my household, one day you're gonna be head of yours.
That's right. That's right.
I try to give that to him and show him, try to guide him so that he's a man of faith when he's head of his household. Amen. And he keeps his household in line when it comes to the faith.
That's good.
So we read the Bible together. I do that with my kids. We kind of do a family thing sometimes. And do that and kind of go around. I ask him questions about it. I want to make sure he's understanding it.
Yes.
It took me a long time to understand the word.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe that was because it wasn't broke down to me as much. Right. So I try to get on that level to explain it to them. So that's things to do. We pray together. And I said it before on one of these. My boy he prays a lot. He prays pretty often. Once he that one day when he was young, I don't remember exactly how old he was. The boy prayed for snow, and it snowed the next day. He was hooked, man. He believed in prayer after that. So, but just doing things like that, and make sure, I try to tame my tongue. I watch what I say around him. I try not to cuss, things of that. Right. We don't just do it for show out there. You got to do it at home too,
Exactly.
So you got to make sure you're setting that example, and just being, when I want him, when he thinks of his dad, I want him to think of God. I want that to be the one thing he remembers and he takes away is, God my dad taught me how to be a godly man, and how to, reading the word and worship, things like that. I try to push him out of his element every once in a while. When we get into worship, I be getting in worship sometimes, he kind of just stand there, I try to get him out of his comfort zone a little bit, but it don't always work out too good. But, you got to push him a little bit just to try to, loosen up and be free with the spirit, But he does good. He's a good kid.
Well, man, you bring up a good point, man. And I was just thinking as you were still talking, another way I try to be a godly influence in my kids' lives is the way I treat people,
Oh, yes.
The way I treat people. So when we go out in public, holding that door open, for people, speaking to people, acknowledging people's presence, valuing people, in public. The same way I value them around home, I try to value other people, and we give to the homeless, So my son sometimes brings what they call bags of hope home from school, and we'll take those items and we'll go out into the public and find some homeless people and give food to, So that's what we try to do as well. So I try to display acts of kindness. That's another way of me trying to be a godly role model for my kids, because I want my kids to be giving. I want my kids to be able to see a need and be able to help people, get their needs met. So that's another way I try to do that. So thank you for sharing that, DJ. I like what you said about worship too. That's very key. Because men are very uptight, sometimes in church and don't want to show any expression. So I'm a praiser. And I'm a worshiper, and I worship out loud. I'm gonna give my amens and hallelujahs, and I'm gonna give God His full praise. And so that's another way I try to, just like you, be an example of worshiping God. Yeah. All right. Next question: how do you support your kids' interests? How do you support their interests, DJ?
All right. So, like I told you, my boy, he's a gamer. And that was hard for me when he was younger and stuff, because he's really kind of always been into games, which, nowadays they kind of put it in their face. I mean, you go to school now, they taking tests on iPods, you know what I mean, or tablets. So, everything's kind of different. But just doing things like I said, I play some games with him every now and again, get time because I know that's what he enjoys.
Yes.
I don't mind them. They're okay. Sometimes I enjoy it, just sitting back, relaxing a little bit and just play a few games with him. And so I get into that, and I try to learn a little bit about some of the games just to talk to him about it, just to have something to have a conversation about,
Good.
And he's still at a way more higher level than I am. He be going on some stuff I don't even know, but it's just something to talk about, he's into YouTube and things like that. So, we talk about that. This podcast, it kind of give us something to talk about. Good. So, things like that. But really, man, just giving into his interest. When I was young, I played sports. So, You know, I was hoping that was the route it was going to go, but, you know, things are different. They ain't the same as you know, so they get different interests. So, you know, I let him kind of do his thing. You know, I ain't going to force him to do nothing he don't want to do as far as, you know, an activity within reason. You still going to do family time, but, you
That's
know.
Right. That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. But, yeah, man, just being there and just, you know, listening. That's a lot too, you know. We try to push our kids to do stuff like, you know, I know a lot of parents out there try to push them to be just like they were, to do a certain thing just because that's something they like. And, you know, sometimes, man, them kids end up hating that sport or activity because of that. So, you know, I let him, you know, try to pick his own interests and stuff and, you know, just something that we can kind of do together. And, you know, I mean, I try to broaden his horizon, so let him, you know, try to get him do some stuff he ain't done, you know, some new activities and stuff. And but mainly, man, I just listen and see what he's got, you know, what his interests are, and you know, try to just get something in common on that, make a common ground with him, at least learn a little bit about it, even if I don't care about what it is or whatever, just so we got something to talk about. So, you know, to get that bond closer and you know, and spend that one-on-one time with him. So, so that, you know, he feels, you know, feel love, you know, because, you know, everybody likes to talk about something that they're interested in. So, you know, you showing that you put forth the effort to learn about something that they got, you know, that shows them that you care.
That's right.
You know?
Exactly.
So that's how I do it. How about you, man?
Hey, whatever they're involved with, I try to be there, right? I at least try to be present in their interests. You know, if it's learning the piano, I'm there with my kids learning the piano. Actually, you know, started with my child learning "Mary Had a Little Lamb" and "Lean on Me," and I didn't even know how to finish the songs, but I knew how to start them because I had an uncle who played the organ a little bit, so the organ and piano kind of similar. So he used to play it, and I picked up on the beginning, but I never could finish it. So I try to, you know, show interest in whatever my kids are interested in. You know, if it's sports, like my kids right now playing basketball, and the youngest one who never played competitive sports, you know, never showed any interest in it because he don't like losing. So he came up with a clause that, hey, if my dad coaches, I'll play. So
that's good.
He never stepped out of his comfort zone and wanted to try anything competitive. But he said, if my dad coach, I'll play. So I signed up to be a coach. I went through the training, got certified, what have you, online, and now I'm ready to start coaching. So I'll be coaching here later this month.
Okay.
And then not only that, I'll be coaching both of my boys on the same team. Never happened before.
Oh, that's cool.
So both of my boys respect me as being a coach, and so I'll be coaching both of them. Like you said, though, the video games, I need to do better at that because my sons, they like to play the video games too, but Dad always working, doing something. So thank you for saying that, DJ. I need to step in and play those video games because I haven't played since GoldenEye 007 on Nintendo 64. Really, man, I used to be a beast at GoldenEye 007. My kids don't know nothing about that. So now it's Fortnite and what is it? My Roblox or whatever it's called. But yeah, I need to show some interest in that. So thank you for bringing that up, DJ. But another thing I do, you know, my kids like to eat. So we'll go. I let them pick their little restaurant, you know. And one of them, I don't know what's the proper word for bougie for a guy, but he like to go in. So he want to go get some hibachi, you know, what they cook in front of you and everything. So we support their interests when it comes to that. And like today, they brought home their report cards. And guess what they want to do? They want to go to Target. What they want to buy, I don't have a clue. But they want to go to Target. So I'm going to support them, you know, for making good grades and doing well in school. So I'm going to give in and we're going to Target. So I'm going to reward them. So that's what we do, and that's what they look forward to. You start rewarding them, start to show interest, you know, and they'll tug on you. And but those are some ways that I support my kids' interests. All right, DJ. Next question is affirming your kids, man. How do you build your kids up?
All right, so that goes. That's that's one of those I started doing more recently, making sure that I guess it's just it's been a lot like what they preaching on and things. I guess just here recently that made me think about it. You know, the questions we had a while back and stuff around that time when I got that stuff. I was like, you know, kind of like the same thing I had to do with my spouse. You know, I make sure they know, hey, you matter.
Yes.
You know, these kids nowadays, man, they're so emotional. Things that we used to kind of just rub off. It was nothing but just a little, and just go on with our day. You know, these kids hold on to it a little bit, so they're a little bit more emotional than what I was used to at that age, or even now. Because emotions come kind of hard for me, so it's kind of a hard thing to do. So, but I just want to make sure he knows he matters. He matters to me. What he does with his life matters, and that's one thing I try to push with him too. My son, he's getting a little older. I know yours a little younger, but I'm like, man, you got to decide what you want to do with your life.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And of course, he goes into what we doing now. I think, I'm gonna be YouTube, and you're gonna make money. I ain't saying you can't, but we need that backup plan.
That's right.
So but just playing it, that's again just kind of playing into their interest and affirming them that you can do those things. But look, it ain't like just making a video. Okay, that's son, right. We gotta get you in school to learn how about broadcasting. You need to learn about the different formats and stuff. You gotta go to school for that stuff. It ain't just hey, turn on a computer and think you're gonna make millions at it. It ain't gonna work like that.
No, it don't work like that.
So it's just kind of letting him know that his interests matter, and that if you have a goal that you can reach it, and just kind of help guide them to make their goals come true. And that, and just affirming them in the way that that they know that you love them, and that you're there for them, and as they continue to grow, you're gonna see. I know now, at the age your kids are, from the time that to the time they get, 5 more years, you're gonna think they gonna change so much in 5 years. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just so much of playing into their interest in things. Again, like we said before, but just affirming them as who they are as a person. I kind of had that thing. It's kind of hard. Just because he is so much different than me, that. As he's getting older and he's changing and doing things that, just because I was more of an outgoing person, he's more of a, I don't know, he keeps to himself. Okay. He's not, when I talk to anybody, that's just me. That's just the way I am. He ain't really like that. And that's just like he likes going to church and stuff. He's rather sit in there in adult services and things with me than go, well, I'm not going to force him to do something he don't want to do. The point is you learn the Word of God.
That's
so,
right.
Him wanting to do that, I kind of just affirm him and letting him, be who you are. Yep. Ain't nobody going to try to change you to be something different than what you are. We all got our different personalities and interest in things. So I just kind of affirm him and be the man that you are, but be respectful, be kind, and those things. I know it's hard for him to stand out. When people speak to him and stuff. He's a little shy on it, but I let him just kind of be him. Though I'm not going to tell him, hey, you need to go out there. The rest of the youth going to this activity or that activity. I mean, if you ain't interested, you ain't interested. I understand, but we're gonna be doing something if you ain't gonna do that.
Exactly.
Not
That's
just
good.
let him go off. Just. Go back, play video game.
Right.
You gotta just kind of work with them with the way they are, and kind of meet in the middle somewhere.
That's right.
That's really what it is. Just kind of find that common ground. And let them be them.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. So those were good examples, and that last one you just brought up was you said that. They have their own personalities.
Yeah.
You have to honor that and respect that as such. And those are ways in which I affirm my kids is that I affirm their personalities. Yeah. I know one, he never want to play competitive sports because they don't like losing. Yeah. But the way I try to build him up in that is that, son, hey, listen, you can do it. You quite natural. the boy already shoots with proper form at 8 years old. He's a short 8 year old, but he already shoots with a proper form in basketball. So I let him know that, hey, listen, you can shoot. You know, you can shoot like Steph Curry. You know, your form is already tight. And it's something that he changed up and switched up, and he copied Steph. And he holds the ball correctly, but I affirmed him by encouraging him, hey, keep shooting like that, and you'll see that you'll get used to shooting like that. You know, and playing basketball, I let him know that, hey, listen, you can do this sport. You know, if this is what you want to do, you can do it, and that'll train you. You know, I train you to the best of my ability. I'll be there to teach you new moves, you know, whatever you want to know. And then my oldest son, man, they like night and day. Cause one, he's more shy, timid. You know, like the crowd. My youngest one, that's another reason why he didn't want to play sports. He don't like all that attention and everything on him. He don't like the spotlight. But the oldest one, he don't mind. He don't mind. He'll come up to you. He'll hug you. You're a stranger. He will make himself known, and he'll get to know you. He sees some kids playing, throwing football or something. He'll go, he'll intervene, interject himself in the middle, and start playing with other kids. So that's how he is. But I affirm him as well, letting him know that, hey, son, listen, I know you got a big personality, you know, and man,
he does.
I love it, man.
I do
He's
too,
very
man.
loving,
good kid,
and
man.
yeah, man, he is. And so he's very loving, outgoing, and but I just let him know that that's excellent, you know. And I love the way that he loves other people. If anybody's hurting or down about something, he always want to check on them. You know, he always want to see what's going on and make sure that they're okay. And so I affirm that in his personality of being loving, you know, because I'm the same way. I don't never like people being down. I don't want people to be alone, feel like they're alone when they go through life challenges and struggles or anything. And then I always speak to people, you know, when I come in contact or in their presence. And my son is the exact same way. So my oldest boy that way. So I affirm them in their personalities, and whatever they show interest in, I'm right there beside them to build them up in that thing, let them know that, hey, you can do it. Hey, you're doing a great job, son. Man, y'all picking up on it real good. You know, they brought home their report cards today. Hey, man, you're doing great. You're doing great. You brung up 3. You went down 1, but you brung up 3 grades, man. I'm very proud of you. Still AB on the roll, you know. So I'm very proud of my kids to let them know that, hey, listen, the what you guys are stepping into and doing something that you never done before. So my oldest son made student council. You know,
that's cool.
Man, put a whole speech together, you know, poster board my wife helped him with, and he won student council election. So he's part of the student council at his school. My youngest son, like I said, he's trying sports. He wrote his first comic book. We got that published. And so I just affirm in whatever they do. And I let them know that I'm very proud of them. So that's one thing we got to do as parents. When your kids are doing something, you know, they don't have to be an elite, you know, at the elite level, but the little progress that they're making, you have to make sure that you're appreciating that progress and that you're respecting that and that you're honoring that and valuing that, because that's what fuels them to keep on going. And so I try to be there to support them in whatever endeavors they, you know, embark upon. So those are some things that I do to support my kids and to affirm their personalities, and affirm to them that, hey, you got everything you need to get this done. You got everything you need. Only thing you have to do is just put forth the effort, and you can do it. You know. So those are ways in which I affirm my kids. All right. Disciplining our children, our kids. DJ, how do you discipline your kids? How do you get them to walk the fine line or to stay humble or what have you? How do you do that?
I gotta admit, my boy, he's pretty good. Okay, I really ain't. He ain't nothing like I was when I was. But as far as discipline, you know, a lot of it, you know, I show him, and just talking to him beforehand. The reason he's so good is the way that me and my wife both, you know, he knows what's expected of him. So he knows he going out of line or whatever. He ain't you ain't whoopings and things like that. You ain't even, but you know, now he 15, it ain't like that anymore.
Yep.
It hurt me to hurt him.
Yep.
You know? but nah, is you know, he knows what's expected of him. So, you know, in doing that, you know, that comes with a lot of the discipline, just showing them what you expect of them, and then you don't. But, you know, they usually keep a straight path with you doing that. And I think a lot of that comes with church and the other things that we do, you know, and just, you know, showing them, being the example. So you're showing them what you want.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, I can't be telling my boy, hey, don't you be cussing, and I'm sitting there, every word that comes out of my mouth is a cuss word. You know,
that's good.
So you got to be that example.
Yeah.
And but you know, there are times, you know, he get early in the mornings and stuff. He been mouthy to his mama once or twice. You know, I hear about it. And, you know, the first thing going, you know, I told you he's a gamer. That game gone.
Yep, exactly.
You want to take one of them older kids. You want to punish them. Turn that Wi-Fi off.
That's
They start crying instantly. So, you know, that's things that you got to do. But there's a lot in it that's, you know, to discipline your kids. You know, you got to make sure that you let them know what's expected of them first.
Yeah.
You know, to know what lines, so they know what lines not to cross, and the way to treat others and things like that. You know, a lot of that comes with, you know, how you carry yourself, so they know how to carry themselves, so that you're not having to punish them, so they're not disrespecting other people.
Yeah.
And you know, my son, even growing up, I really didn't ever really have to, you know, ground him much, or I mean, he got grounded occasionally, but you know, and stuff, and go to whoopings and things like that. Yeah, I didn't really just talking to him. You know, he knew in my voice of what not to do and what to do, and he knew repercussions. And I guess he didn't really. I gotta give it to him. He didn't want to test to figure out what the repercussions were. You know, he's a pretty good youngin', so I really can't say anything ever got to a bad point to have to you know, do that. But as you do that, you know, you just need to make sure, you know, you follow the lines of the words, you know, and how to, you know, take care of your kid and how you respect them. You know, you got to respect them, even though, you know, that's the same, you know, you want them to respect you, you got to respect them. So you got to make sure that, you know, you give them the same respect you want back. So, you know.
Absolutely.
How you feel about, man, how you discipline your kids? You got two of them. That's a little... So, you know, they be making trouble together. So,
man, I tear my kids up. I will cut their behinds. No, I'm just teasing, but no, I'm for real too at the same time. Yeah. Listen, I give my kids a long rope, you know, and I allow them to try to make the best choices and decisions when it comes to our expectations, me being their father and then their mother. Like I said, I don't play any disrespect in my house. No. So when I see things that do not align with our expectations, I make sure I correct them. Yeah. And I try to do the talking first. Several times, several warnings. Yeah. But if it get too out of hand, I have to threaten then. Hey, listen, you go straighten up or this hand gonna be on your backside. Okay? Or you go get a whooping. Okay? That's what it is. So I whoop my kids occasionally now because I think they got the picture. They don't like that feeling. So I haven't had to whoop my kids in quite some time. But, you know, spat a rod, spoiled a child. You know, so sometimes I've had to do so. So when, you know, don't seem like my words are getting through, then they know what the repercussions are. Yeah. But now, you know, you have to be careful with doing that, you know, especially as a man, as a father, because you can easily break the spirit. Yeah. And so there's a fine line there. Yeah. You know, so you don't want to break your child's spirit to where your child shuts down, you know, to where they're reserving information. They're scared to do certain things. No, you got to be careful with that. You'll break their spirit if you do that. So I don't break my kids' spirit. I'm not trying to abuse my kids and, you know, leave bruised marks or anything like that. No. You know, but I will correct my kids and check my kids. You know, definitely. Another way of discipline is like it goes back to one of the other things we talked about is leading by example. You know, so I have to, like you said, you lay the expectation. So my expectation just not verbal. My expectation lives out through me. You know, by me being the standard. So I have to be that role model. I have to be that leader in my house and show them, hey, this is how you respect your mom. Do you see me disrespecting her? So I don't. You shouldn't disrespect her. You know. Do you see your mother and your sister? Yeah, I mean your aunt. You know, get into altercations and disrespect each other. And the answer is no. Well, I said you two as brothers, you don't disrespect each other. You know. So I talk to my kids through, you know, using those type of scenarios and situations so that they understand and can relate, you know, to myself or to other people, you know. And if they're disrespecting each other, I tell them, hey, listen, do you disrespect your best friend at school like that? You know, or you as quick tempered with your friends as you are with your brother? And we know siblings, there's going to be some strife and things like that, and it's going to happen, but it should be very minimal, you know. So I always bring things back to something that they can relate to that's going on around them, you know. And I always use, you know, people that they know or myself or my wife as examples. So we do take things away from them. They get their games taken away, you know, whether they be the Nintendo Switch, the PlayStation, or what have you. So they get those things taken away as well as a form of discipline. But you know, with discipline, you also have to use those as coaching moments, teaching moments as well. You know, the reason why, you know, you're in trouble is because, you know, you didn't listen. I told you this and I told you that. I told you this is what my expectations were, and you didn't follow through. You know, you repeatedly did your own thing and neglected what I said. So I use those as coaching moments and teaching moments. And when they see that, you know, you're firm, and when they see that you stand on your word, then they realize that, hey, Dad means business. And in order for me to stay in good standing, then I need to walk this fine line, you know. But your kids, you know, when you do it in love and when you do it without going overboard, you know, trying to kill your kids, then they have a respect for you and they know the tone of your voice. Like you said, you don't have to whoop them anymore. They just know by the tone of your voice, all right, things getting a little, you know, escalated. So I better straighten up quick. So that's the way I discipline my kids, you know, verbally, you know, by teaching them, coaching them, taking things away. Whippings come last, you know, again, because I don't even know kind of, you know, where we learned that from, you know, and how did that become acceptable. And sometimes that becomes the first, you know, course of action is the whipping, but without the explanation, you know. So where did we get whippings from and laying our hands on our kids? I don't really know. I do know the Bible says spare the rod, sport a child. But at the same time, you know, you had to have seen that. I know that was done to me. I got a fair share of whoopings, you know. But I think things should be handled a little differently now. You know, still whooping kids if you know things go, you know, far south. But I think it's more of what you said is creating that standard and explaining to them what those expectations are. Because where there's no standard, there will be chaos. Where there's no expectation, you know, there's not going to be any boundaries. So so coach your kids, you know, as I try to, as DJ tried to, and discipline them, you know, based upon, you know, the severity of whatever the offense was.
So basically, you know, that comes down. Basically, you show them how you respect them, how you respect your spouse, and how you respect others that you come in contact with. And that's how they learn how to respect people, and that's how they learn to do things by your actions. They see you going and you disrespect people, but you telling them not to do that. Then, you know, that's where you're gonna have conflict. That's where you're gonna, you know, that's why a lot of them don't listen and things like that. Because you tell them to do something, one person, just because you're nice to your loved ones or whatever. But then you go to, you know, people, just a random stranger out there, and you know, you see disrespect. You know, somebody made you mad, you done flipped them the bird as you're going down. Your kid sees that. So, you know, it all boils down to respect. I feel like, you know, you make sure your kid respects you.
That's it.
But you got to show your kid respect. And then you got to let them see you respecting everybody else.
That's good, because that goes into provoking your kids. So it's the same thing as provoking them. You can provoke your kids to anger. as what the Bible tells us not to do. But you can also provoke your kids to rebellion by not being that example, by what you're talking about, by not being that leader. Whenever you, whatever expectation you have for them, you're not living up to it, then they're going to rebel because they're going to throw that in your face, like, you're not being what you say that you want us to be.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. And the verse he's talking about, that's in Ephesians. It's Ephesians 6, and it talks about that. Not to anger your kids or bring them away, but to show them through the Lord how to act and how to be respectful. Another good one is Proverbs 22, and that's where it tells bring up your kids. Your kids are going to go their own way as they get older. Mm-hmm. But as you train them in their youth to, be in the Word and who God is, you bring them to church and things like that, they'll hold on to that up to their old age.
Oh, yeah.
So, what that really means, is a lot. And I'm a prime example of that is, my parents brought me in going to church and things growing up. And, I got to, 19 in my early 20s and stuff. I went and did my own thing for a little while, because, we all stubborn and fall away and try to do.
Right. That's right.
And, but I came back, and it just shows that Bible verse is true.
Yeah.
And, I'm a prime example of that. I knew where I belonged, and when I decided to get it right, I knew the steps to take to get it right.
Yes. Yeah.
So, it wasn't hard for me to do it. All these people, they all like, oh, I got this empty hole inside of me and they don't know how to fix it, and that's what we're here to do as Christians. We're supposed to show them how to fix that empty hole, because that emptiness you're missing, that's God, that's the Holy Spirit. That's this is the thing that you're missing in your life, and why you can't figure out, what it is that you are missing. Mm-hmm. It's because we all belong to Christ, and you trying to live life without Him, it ain't gonna work out.
No.
But because my parents did that and brought me up in church, and I knew where to turn.
Yes.
When I was ready to make that change, and I was like, all right, this ain't working, and I knew where to go. Amen. It wasn't a hard thing to do.
Amen.
And, so I knew where to go and to get back into it. I want to share you another verse with y'all right quick. This is in Deuteronomy, chapter 6. Mm-hmm. And we'll just do it with the verse 7. We'll start 6. These commandments that I give you today are to be in your hearts. Mm-hmm. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. Mm-hmm. Tie them as symbols on your hands and bind them on your foreheads. Mm-hmm. So as you learn all these and you do the commandments, and it's just talking about the word in general. It tells you how to live. It tells you the things you need in your life to live a good life and to live one that's holy. Yeah. Because as our Father is holy, we need to be holy. It's giving us the tools to do that. We need to make sure we're giving them tools to our kids.
That's right.
And, that's the main goal.
It's talking about binding the Word of God to your heart, so it'll be near you, so it'll be close to you, so that what's in your heart begins to come out. Yeah. It comes out of your mouth. It comes out of your gestures. Comes out of your attitude. So we have to bind the Word of God to us, and keep it close to us.
That's right.
So that we can live it out and be those examples to the world, to our children, to our spouse, but especially to our kids, because we're the first version of Christ that they see. We're going to be the first, for your daughters, it's going to be the first husband that they see, and for your sons, you're going to be the first mentor, or friend, or what have you, that they see, the first influencer in their life. So we as men play a big, huge part in our kids' lives. It's still some grown folks who are very bitter right now and hold on to some level of resentment, unforgiveness, because the broken relationships they have with their fathers, or maybe their father was absent for whatever reason. But those things are very damaging to people, and so it's very important for us as men, for us as fathers, to be a part of our kids' lives, to be a significant influence in their lives, because we play a major role We play a major role in the upbringing of our kids, play a major role in their attitudes, the way they treat other people, the way that they see themselves. We play a major role in that. So I would just want to encourage you guys to listen, take some time out with your children. Remember that you are an inspiration to them, that you have great influence and impact on their lives. Just evaluate your relationships with your children and ask yourself, how much am I valuing my kids? How much am I showing them interest? How much am I getting down to the level and being involved with the things that they, really into? How am I disciplining my kids? Am I being too hard on them? Do I need to do more talking and teaching rather than, whippings or punishment? you know so these are some things that we wanted to discuss today, so that we can take some time to evaluate ourselves and inspire you to evaluate your relationships with your children. Listen, thank you guys for tuning in once again to Iron Man United. We are your hosts, Terrence Williams and
DJ Carpenter.
Hey, until next time, guys, please like, subscribe, tune in as we continue to be an encouragement to you in the world. Peace.